beginning right now, right here. If you go to our webpage where you would have registered for this session at, that is where you're going to find all of the information about each of these sessions, because there'll be 3 today, 3 tomorrow, 3 on Thursday with a little happy hour at the end, which is very exciting. We'll share more info on that. But the great thing is, though, is you'll be able to find all the information, any like free downloads, any links that speakers share on this page. But also, these are all being recorded, which is awesome, because I know that's a big thing, especially when we're doing, like 3 a day. We totally get it. It's a very busy time. So if you have to hop off, or if you have to miss one of the sessions, those sessions will all be available on that webpage right after the session ends. So it might take like 10-15 minutes just for it to render from Zoom, but then otherwise it'll be there and ready for you. So all of those you can access again just on our webpage here. And then be sure that you'll also want to register for each session you want to join. So if you registered for this one and you want to join other ones, make sure you go in there and register for those individually. So it's kind of like an a la carte, you can pick what you want to join and all that good stuff. But this is going to be your place all week long where you can find everything there. So it'll be really awesome. But now I want to go hand it over here to Cyndi. Cyndi, I'll let you share your screen here. And while you're doing that, just again to introduce Cyndi here today. So she's the CEO, founder of Careers on Vacation, Wanderlust Campus, Wanderlust Social. They're all really amazing. So I am going to let you take it away, Cyndi, and share this. And in the meantime, we'll be enjoying our coffee because we are going to be closers today.
I love it. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Stephanie. I'm so glad to be here, guys. I love hanging out with the Travefy community. It's so positive. And when they reached out in spring, asked me to keynote, I was like, of course, we'd be happy to do that for you guys. And today's session is all about closing. And I know when you guys hear sales, some of you immediately have like a reaction like, oh, I hate sales. It doesn't feel good, because we've all had really bad sales experiences in the past. And that's one of those things where we have to change our mindset about it a little bit, but also understand that there's a whole brave new world in sales. It can actually be fun. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, I named the session Coffee is for Closers. If any of you guys know the old movie, the Glenn Ross, the Alec Baldwin scene where he walks in from, I guess, the corporate office, and there's a guy at the coffee machine getting his coffee, and he's like, put that down, coffee's for closers. And it's just that whole like old school kind of mentality about how to sell and, all of those things. That is not what this session is about. I just thought it was a fun title, and it definitely like, hey, you're going to get coffee no matter what. But we're going to talk about how sales has kind of evolved and your role in that and how you can get better sales. Some of you guys don't need to get more leads. If you can just close 10% or 20% more of your sales, that will raise your bottom line 10 or 20% more, right? So understanding how to have a strong close rate will really impact your overall business. So today we're going to go through some key things. One, sales starts with marketing, and we're going to talk about empty mouths and the fact that they don't get fed, right? That's one of those things that is really, really, actually, hang on, Steph, I'm going to stop my share here a second, just because I have 2 versions of this PowerPoint. And I want to make sure we're playing from the right one here.
Oh, yeah, no worries. As you're doing that too, I just dropped in the chat, but if anyone has questions for Cyndi throughout this session, feel free to drop those in the chat or the Q&A panel, and we might be able to have her answer them at the end. So we will have time at the end for Q&A. So drop those in when you think of them.
Absolutely. I put in some extra slides for Travefy, and that's why I was like,
I love
this
it.
is the other version. So as you'll see, there's one more bullet point on this other version, which is talking about how authenticity is the new sales. And that's that part of sales where you can feel good about it. I'm going to teach you how to be yourself in the sales process and how it will actually get you more, not less sales. So lots of great things to cover today. And we're also going to take questions at the end. So as we go through, definitely pop those questions into the chat box. We're also going to give you guys an cliff notes of today's session. So I'm going to invite you to go to wanderlessceo.com/coffee, and you can get a written one-pager of all of the key different things that I'm talking about today, kind of outlines a presentation. Of course, the recording is available, but if you're someone who likes to look at it really quickly, get that download and keep it on file. Next time you're struggling with your sales, it's an easy one-pager that you can refer back to. So guys, let's talk about the new age of sales. All of us can recant our worst sales experience ever. A lot of times that's at a car dealership. I'm sure we can all relate, or wherever you may have had a bad sales experience where you felt pressured, you felt uncomfortable, you felt like someone was trying to bend your will, and sales was kind of a test of wills. We don't have to do that to get the most sales possible. So let that old kind of paradigm float away. We're going to walk you through how the new age sales works, which is being yourself, solving problems, starting in a place where it feels really authentic to you. So first things first, and I specifically picked a Disney background for this because if you guys don't already follow me, you'll know I'm a Disney person. So one of the things, whether I'm selling a cruise or selling something internationally, that's like my personality is rooted in Disney, and it's okay to embrace those sides of you that you might be worried about. So I threw that on the slide just as a backdrop to prove my point. But sales should never feel pushy. Gone are the days of high pressure sales tactics. So let yourself feel good about the fact that you're just going to be a problem solver in this new environment. Authenticity is also really key. Being authentically you helps you build that know, like, trust factor faster. We're going to talk about in a minute how people buy from people that they know, people they like, and people they trust. We all know this, and this is the new world that we live in. It's kind of like when you guys are researching things, you might go to YouTube to get it, hear it from the street kind of thing, and you follow certain influencers, certain speakers on YouTube, certain whatever, depending on what the topic is, you kind of go get the information from them and you watch the videos again and again because they resonate with you. Something authentically about them resonates with something about you. It's the same process when you are selling to your ideal clients. You don't need to sell to everybody. You need to sell to your ideal clients, the ones that you're going to work with best. In fact, you don't want to sell with everyone because we've all had a client that you just didn't gel with. That doesn't feel good for them. It doesn't feel good for you. So making sure that you're attracting ideal clients like a magnet starts with you being authentic and operating always from an authentic place of who you are and how you want to run your business. And then take a consultative sales approach. I've been training consultative sales for over 20 years. I've been training this to travel agents. I was certified in consultative sales way back in the early 2000s, and I have used it ever since then because it just feels like a better process. It's about asking questions. It's about listening more and talking less. And it's all you're doing is solving your client's problem. And when you solve the problem, you close the sale. It really is that easy if you do it effectively. And we'll expand on that here in just a minute. So before you even get to the sales process, I want to back up a little bit, and I want everyone to understand sales actually starts in your marketing process, even in your branding. Your brand speaks before you do. Your marketing speaks before you do. The lead never gets to your phone, never gets to your computer, never comes to your lead sources unless your marketing on some level resonated with them. So understand the role that marketing plays in an effective sales process is really key. You'll hear me say often, the right marketing will offend the wrong clients and it will attract the right clients, right? And what a perfect example is, a lot of you guys are hesitant to charge fees. You're nervous about charging fees. We put that right on our website. We put on our website, we're now accepting clients with budgets of $10,000 or more. We let them know up front. And if they're a little bit offended by that, no worries. They're going to move on to the next person who works with lower budgets. But meanwhile, I'm going to get the right clients, the ones that do have 10,000 or more to spend, right? So think about how you're integrating in marketing, how you're integrating those little messages, and also, are you attracting the right clients? So a couple of things to know about marketing. Marketing has this rule of 7. If you've ever gone to college for marketing, or if any of you guys have a marketing background, you may have heard of this. The rule of 7 says your brand must be seen 7 times before it resonates with a potential buyer. And I want to talk about this for a second because some of you guys feel like your marketing And I promise you are not marketing enough. You are in your head all day long about your brand. You're building your marketing pieces. You're putting marketing plans together. You're pushing stuff out on social media. You feel like you're bothering people. You might feel like I'm putting too many things out, but I promise you, the way that the algorithms work, the way that marketing works, you can almost never market too much. And so think about the rule of 7 next time you're putting your marketing plan together, that a perfect stranger who's never met you before, never interfaced with your brand, before they're ever going to make a contact, a call, reach out, they're going to have to see you 7 times, either on Google, on your SEO, on social media, on YouTube, on wherever your marketing channels are. 7 times it's going to take them before they have any type of inclination that they're going to hit a button to potentially have a conversation with you. So your marketing needs to be good. It needs to be consistent, and you need to have it on a cadence where it is constantly, you have a marketing machine pushing out marketing in your business. People also buy from people they know, like, and trust. We all know that pit in our stomach where something just doesn't feel right. And back in the 80s and 90s where coffee was for closers, right? There was a lot of that pushy stuff. And it was like, oh, I have to go buy a car. This is going to be the worst experience ever. Well, we've evolved since then. Most people know to trust that pit in their stomach. They're like, I'm going to do a little more research. I'm going to check some other things out. We know that we're not going to make a decision until we feel good about it. So you have to remember, give them a reason to know, like, and trust you. You have to do that all the way through the sales process, starting in your marketing. Then when it gets into qualification and your proposal process, we'll expand on that here in a second, but give them reasons to know you, to like you, and to trust you. And then your brand speaks before you do. First impressions matter. So these are things like do you have consistency? Do you have brand continuity across all the places that you're marketing? Does your branding package look good from site to site? Do you have sales funnels? Do you have service funnels? Do you have consistent branding happening in a way where it is conducive to the sales process? So challenge yourself on this marketing level as part of your foundational experience with sales. Really, you have to have these things in place to get those ideal clients heading your direction. All right. Now, we empty mouths don't get fed. Next time you're like, oh, Cyndi said I should put more content out. Cyndi said I probably am not doing as much as I can do. I want you to remember this. Empty mouths don't get fed. If you don't ask for the business, you're not going to get the business. I saw a great, one of the influencer I follow who's not in the travel space. She had a post this morning I was looking at, and it said, if you only post 1 or 2 times, you may get 1 or 2 sales. So there you go. If you post 200 times, you might get 200 sales, right? That's what we're going for. We're really going for that quantity, the ideal leads, but quantity in terms of posting. So you can then have a plethora of leads so you can decide who you want to work with, but you got to ask for the business. So we're going to talk about optimizing social. We're also going to talk about SEO, and we're also going to talk about everybody's favorite that no one wants to do, which is create some video content to build that know, like, trust factor. But let's talk about social first. So you want to just do a little self-audit in your travel business and ask, am I really fully optimized where my social media is concerned? So the other thing to know is too, we train thousands of students through our programs every year. And one of the things that's very overwhelming is they'll come and say, I want to do every platform. And I'll say, you don't have to do every platform. I would rather you do a really, really excellent job on 2 platforms, that you're showing up, you're visible in your business, you're putting all of these different marketing things in place, plus do some off social marketing too. But the point is, you guys don't have to do everything. That's too much pressure, and it makes a lot of you quit to go, I'll never, I got this Threads things and YouTube and Twitter and X and, all the things that are out there, Facebook, Meta, and everything is changing every day, and it feels overwhelming. It feels like you're in a sea of confusion. So scale it back. You don't have to do all the stuff, guys. Pick 1, pick 2. If you're a consumer on certain sites, that might be an easier one for you to start with as well. Excuse me. Now, once you're comfortable with the first 2, then you can add more when you're ready. Once you have it on automation, we teach our students how to automate things, how to automate their marketing processes in those places. And then they're like, okay, Cyndi, it's done. I'm ready to add a next one. When you're feeling ready, go ahead and add another one, but not until you're ready. And then make social work for you rather than the other way around. The first thing that I love to ask people when they say, my marketing's not working on social, we look at it together. Normally it's because they're operating within social as a consumer, not as a creator. There's a very, very distinct difference. And a lot of you guys have been using social media, so you think you know everything about it. But the reality is I'm hardly ever on social media. And you're going to say, Cyndi, that's a lie. I see you everywhere, every day, your videos, your ads, everything's popping up. Yeah, but guess what? I batch record stuff. I have sales funnels. I have people behind the scenes that are putting things out for me. I actually don't like social media that much because I feel like it kills my productivity and it kills my time. But I am using social media as a business tool. So think about, you think about the fact that you have to be a creator, not a consumer of social media. So if you're not leveraging it from a business or a strategic perspective, you need to challenge yourself to do that. If it's learning more about Meta or learning more about the platform that you have picked to market on, you have to make sure that you are really approaching a business strategy to it instead of a consumer. You can't just post on your personal pages and open a page and say, I'm open, and expect loads of customers to come floating in. It doesn't work that way. You have to have real systems in place. So think about that and challenge yourself. Do the learning if you need to fix that cog in the machine if it's not working for you. All right, universal SEO platform. So SEO, search engine optimization. How are you showing up online, right? So a couple of things that you can do to help your SEO along. Make sure you're providing clear, engaging content that is easy to find. That is really important. Updating your website, thinking about having a blog on your website can be one of the things that can really get you some more reach in SEO. Page titles should be relevant to the content. So think about the page titles that are on your website as well. Do they make sense? Are you using keywords within those pages? You want to think about all of those different things as you're building out your site, or if you're doing a site audit. And then don't deceive users about what your website is about. We always, in the YouTube world, I do a lot of work with YouTube, and we go out to the VidCon conferences, and there's a lot of studies on what we call clickbait, which is you put something out there because it's a keyword, but it doesn't match what you do, or it's a little bit off center from where the space that you operate in. Avoid clickbait. You don't want to do that on your pages. Yes, it will get you traffic, but it won't get you the right traffic. And it also kind of breeds a distrust with people, which you don't want to do as well. And then your website must be mobile friendly. I can't tell you how many times people put a beautiful website together, especially if you're building your own, which is a chore in itself. If you forget to do that last step of optimizing it for mobile, then someone pulls it up on the phone and it looks crazy. They're moving on to the next website. So make sure that you check your site, and check it often too. We're updating our sites all the time. We have 5 or 6 different sites that we run. So we're constantly checking stuff. There's usually something that needs an update that has to be run or something like that. Make sure that you're checking all of those different pieces. And then your website should load correctly and quickly. Make sure your speed times are good on your website. Any web developer can do a speed test for you. I'm sure there's free ways to do it. I'm not a web developer, but I always make sure that our speed time is going well. And sometimes adding a lot of videos or things that you think are pretty for your website can lag your website down. You want to make sure that you're not doing those. All right, let's talk about video. I know hitting that record button is so scary for so many people. But guys, video is not going away. We were the first one in the travel industry to teach video strategy. We started way back in 2016, before Zoom was a household name, before the pandemic started. And my students that adopted this early on are huge mega agencies now. And a lot of them credit it back to incorporating video early. And you can still get in the video game. In fact, you have to be in the video game if you want to get the most reach for the least amount of dollars in your marketing budget as well. But video really reflects your authenticity and your emotion. And some of you I know are afraid to show your face on film. We have a video challenge when we certify agents that they get to work through to kind of get past that whole process. But you have to do it, whether it's practicing, whether it's role playing. You want to really get video incorporated into your process. It really does build that know, like, trust factor the fastest way possible. So people can see your body language, they can see your face, they can see that you're excited about what you do. You have to let that resonate. So don't worry so much about the logistics of video. You don't need a bunch of fancy equipment. You can just start with your phone, but it really does help you build that know, like, trust factor. And then you can use video to be posted on social media. You can use it in your marketing. You can also incorporate it into sales funnels. We also use it in our service funnels as well to help our clients and kind of do all kinds of different things in the world of what we do from a customer service standpoint beyond sales. It's also an attention grabber, right? People are much more likely to watch a video that is on topic to something they care about than read a long-winded post. So that's, and especially with subtitles happening simultaneously today, it's easy peasy. And then faster conversion than traditional marketing. We do a lot of testing. We spend a lot of money because we train to our students the marketing that works the best so they don't have to waste money. And so because of that, we waste a lot of money figuring out what doesn't work. But I will tell you again and again, dollar for dollar, video is free. It takes time and effort, but it is also one of the fastest converters for getting you sales on your books, literally possibly tomorrow. So it is a fast converter. And then think about how it fits into your marketing plan. If it doesn't today, it might be one of those things that you want to work towards for the future. All right, let's talk about the whole sales process. So I'm going to assume that you have qualified your client, which is kind of a precursor to these three phases of consulting, proposing, and closing. Make sure you're doing a great job qualifying your clients and you're working with the clients that you want to work with. And then we're going to go into what we call the ABCs, always be closing, which is also from that same movie that our friend Alec Baldwin was in. But this is still true. You should always be closing. We can do the new sales technique where it doesn't feel yucky, but we still want to always be closing. So first step is you want to consult. Sales actually happens in the consultation phase. What do I mean by that? When you are meeting with someone for a consult, that is your opportunity to position yourself as an expert. It's an opportunity to showcase yourself as a professional. It's an opportunity to understand their needs and then give them a response on how you will solve their problems. In that consultation phase is when they decide if they are going to give you a credit card later on, or if they just want you to do a bunch of work that they're going to then take and go book it themselves on the internet, right? So the consultation phase is really key. I'm going to elaborate on that here in just a moment. And then the proposal phase, you want to make sure you have value-based proposals, not price-based proposals. A lot of us get caught up in, they said their budget was $5,000. So I'm going to start with, I found you something for $5,000. That's actually exactly not what you want to do when you are preparing a close. And we're going to elaborate on that here in a moment as well. And then the actual close. So many of you guys get all the way to the finish line. You do all the work, you run a marathon, and then you forget to ask for the business, or you are uncomfortable with that closing conversation and you have to get past that finish line. You've already done all the work. You've already put in all the time. We got to get them to that close. All right, so let's talk about the consultation phase. Building rapport is critical. You guys have heard this. This is nothing new. You have to build rapport early on. Don't go jumping right into questions. You really want to kind of talk to the client, ask them, oh, I see here you're going to Hawaii. That's amazing. I'm really excited about that. I've been 20 times. It's one of my favorite trips to book. Tell me more about your vacation. When are you thinking about going? Just kind of have an easier conversation. Again, taking it back to that consultative. Remember, people buy from those that they like and trust. So you want to make sure that you're building that relationship early on in the conversation. And then use a lot of consultative questions. Try to avoid the yes and no questions and do more consultative questions. What is it about Hawaii that got you excited for your honeymoon? Or what is it about Hawaii that you picked it for your honeymoon? And sometimes they might tell you, well, it's the beautiful sunsets and the XYZ, because if their budget doesn't match being able to get to Hawaii, you at least will have those reasons and the reasons why they want to go to Hawaii. But let the prospective client do most of the talking in this phase. Your role is to ask questions and listen and take notes. I really want you to be in an active listening mode. I know a lot of you are like, I already know the answer. I already know what they'll want to go, where they'll want to go. I already know what I can book for them. Take a deep breath and listen. You're searching for not just what they want, but what the problems are that they're having that you're about to solve for them. Because if they say, I've never done a multi-island trip before, this is overwhelming, or I'm not sure what the best places in Hawaii are, or I'm not sure how island hopping works. You don't want to respond right away. You just want to take note of all of these things and then listen and mirror back their biggest needs. So what I'm hearing from you, Cyndi, is you really want to do Hawaii as your honeymoon destination. You're looking for 2 weeks. You'd like to do 2 to 3 islands based on your budget, depending on what we can find, 4 to 5-star resorts, ocean view or ocean front whenever possible. And we want to do a tour about every third day, but you also want time for rest and relaxation. And you're not sure how to island hop. I got you covered there. Don't worry. But is that a good recap of what you just told me? Is there anything else you want to add? So what did I do in that situation? I told Cyndi that she was heard. And also, if I missed anything, then I have another opportunity for them to add anything, or if they forgot anything, they can do that. So they already know I'm a professional. I'm repeating back what's important to them. I'm walking them through how we're going to kind of approach this together and collaborate on this vacation. And then you want to add some value, touch briefly on how you work and illustrate why they should use your services and set good expectations. So in the value phase, you can talk through, we'll handle all the details from A to Z. I have all of the best luau's on speed dial. I know exactly where to be on the island to catch those sunsets that you want. I'm going to dangle carrots about what I know and how I'm going to help them. I'm not going to give them all the solutions just yet. That'll come in the proposal phase, but I'm building value in this consult phase so they know what they can expect from me. And then I'm going to open up a conversation about, great, I'm so excited to work on this for you. Here's how I work, which is then where I will tell them about my fee and I will walk them through the process and I will set good expectations in terms of how we'll be working together for the future. That's just as important. An ideal client does not want free necessarily. An ideal client does not want the cheapest travel agent out there. They want someone who's going to give them the honeymoon of their dreams. They only get one time to go to their honeymoon, right? So you want it in that expectation phase, let them know again, you are a professional and what they can expect by working with you. That's how you can demand and command higher fees. Now, talking about the value-based proposals. So when you are getting ready to do a proposal, first of all, I really need you guys to stop emailing proposals, especially with brand new unestablished clients. That is why you're getting ghosted. Okay. So you want to share in your proposal. I'd like for you guys to do this on video. We'll talk about that in a second as well. But why did they choose you? You want to make sure that you're clearly communicating that you add the value to the client's vacation, that you're going to help them save time, save money, and save the headaches that they can run into problem-wise. A couple of tips on that. Conduct your proposals on video, as I mentioned. Paint a picture and incorporate their original needs. If Cyndi told me all of that stuff about her vacation, I want to bring back into the proposal. I know that you said sunsets were really important to you. That's why I put you on the west side of Maui. This particular resort has beautiful sunsets almost every single night, and it gives you easy access to the different activities. And it's only about 20 minutes to my favorite luau, which I also can have built into this proposal for you too. So see what I'm doing there? I'm painting a picture for the client instead of saying, I found you something for $10,000 for your honeymoon. Let's get started. No, price should almost never be discussed until the very, very end of the 1 to 3 proposals based on however many proposals you're building for them. But what you want to do is paint a picture with each proposal as you are walking them through it and pull back in those original needs that you establish in that consultation phase. So make sure that you're doing that, because remember, sales is about solving problems. This is go time. This is where you show them how you solved all their problems and then even put icing on top of the cake, right? And then don't show pricing, verbally advise them. I don't ever write my price on the screen. I will tell them this one is this much, this one is this much, this one is this much, and then I'll go right into the close, which I'm going to give you guys some closing statements here in a second. And then you have to ask for the close, right? Don't present everything and then go, what do you guys think? Or go, just kind of leave it open-ended. Like, do you want to give me a call in a few days? Do you want to think it over? Don't talk them out of the sale. Go right for the sale after the proposal. And then always schedule a follow-up if they don't close. If they're not ready to close yet, that's perfectly okay, but always have that next telephone call or video call scheduled. Say, no problem. I understand you want to take a little time to discuss it with your fiance. I get that. This is a big trip for you guys. Let's follow up on Thursday. I have a 2 or a 4 available. To either of those times work for you to come back and recap, and then we can answer any questions and we can make your final selections. See how I did that? I literally am guiding them through the process of, okay, let's meet in 2 days. Send me any questions in the meantime, and then I will reclose them 2 days from now. So always have that next one booked though. Don't just let them off the phone and let them go floating, because sometimes they don't float back. That's what you don't want to have happen. All right, let's talk about the actual closing statement and how you can ask for the business. So first and foremost, assumptive, you got to go directly for the sale. If you just did a beautiful proposal and if you did your consultative sales properly, you qualified them, you answered and solved all of their problems in the proposal process. They're excited, they're ready to go. It should be a pretty high energy call when you're meeting their needs and solving their problems. You can go, hey, which credit card do you guys want to use today to get this booked so we can get everything confirmed? The other one is a choice close versus an assumptive. Do you prefer I book ocean view or ocean front? Did you like proposal 2 or proposal 3? Which one resonates with you most? So those are ways, those are actually asking for the sale in a different way. You're just asking them to move closer to the sale. Great, ocean front, awesome. Well, we'll get everything booked for you guys today. What credit card do you want it on? Oh, and last thing, do you want me to add those late greetings on for you at the airport as well? You just keep them moving through that process, right? So keep them kind of in that whole sales mindset. This is where that magic happens to kind of keep them on track. And remember, confidence is key. You have to be confident in what you just told people. The worst thing you can say at the end of a sales call is kind of like, what do you guys think? It's more that because if you solve their problems, they should think it's amazing. We should already know the answer to that question, right? So have that confidence, or you can even ask additional questions if you need to reclose. Objections also, don't get freaked out by objections. Well, they didn't have this or they didn't have that. You want to remember objections are just buying signals. It's getting you closer. It's just one more problem to solve. Once you solve it or give them an option or an alternative, then you can get them closer to the sale. And then immediate closings may not always happen, but the magic is in the follow-up. A lot of you guys are not following up enough. That's another thing to remember. Follow-up is key. All right, let me go through a couple top sales tips just to recap here. Sales starts in marketing. That whole expert positioning is really, really important before they ever are going to have that contact with you. They kind of have to have that feel, that know, like, trust factor already starting. And then take a consultative approach in your sales. Paint those pictures, ask the questions, solve the problems. Incorporating your authenticity and value. It is perfectly fine to be yourself. So you want to involve that in the process. Remember, that should be all filtered through your marketing so people know what they get when they work with you, and then pulling in that value as well. Dangle the carrots, don't give away the farm. If you are emailing people quotes with all the information and who the quote is through and all of the details, you a lot of times are giving away the farm. And sometimes they'll go, oh, I was just tired. I went ahead. I didn't want to bother you. I just went and booked it myself. That's the worst thing you want to hear as a travel advisor, right? So I want you to dangle the carrots. Don't give away the farm in terms of your sales process. And then service is sales. If you're doing a good job solving the problems, servicing them as a client, then service is sales. And don't forget, upsells and cross sells will add to your bottom line. That's why I always do 3 proposals. I do 2 at budget. I always do 1 over budget, but I add something that's a wow factor. Like, did you know you could get a swim up butler suite in this particular resort in the Caribbean, right? I wouldn't be doing my job. I know it's $1,000 more, but I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't tell you about this, because this is an incredible rate for that time of year and you guys have a year to save for it. So I wanted to just give you all the options. You tell me what's best for you. Right? So upsells and cross sells, don't forget. And then ABC, always be closing. Follow up, guys. The normal follow-up period can be anywhere from 4 to 7 times, especially with brand new clients. That is not too much in terms of your closing. All right, have a strong follow-up process. I know when you're a new agent, maybe you haven't built that confidence up yet. That's why you want to have a strong follow-up process. If I've given someone a quote and let's say I gave someone a quote and they didn't show up or they weren't available when I called back. We've all had that happen. We have an appointment at 2, I call them and they're not there. I immediately send them an email. And I would leave a voicemail as well. And then I do that every day for like a week until I hear back from them. That sounds excessive, but you did the work. They asked you to do the work. So you're making sure you're doing your job. So if they no-show, personally call them as well as email them. It's not too much. Do it at minimum 3 to 4 times is typical. And at least if you keep bugging them, they're going to tell you, do they have more questions? What's going on? You can figure out kind of what's happening. And that will help you get an idea of kind of where they're at in the buying process. All right, guys, if you don't already follow us on social media, I would invite you to do that. You can find me everywhere at Wanderlust CEO, and then Wanderlust Campus you can find online as well. Stephanie mentioned it earlier, but we are the #1 choice for travel certifications. We run award-winning educational programs. We train not just sales, but marketing, systems, operations, and we certify travel agents and travel agency owners. If you'd like more information on that, you can visit us at travelschool.com. And we have all of our award-winning programs. Careers on Vacation would be the closest if you are really struggling with sales and marketing that I would recommend. And we're going to open it up for questions.
Woo! Oh man, awesome stuff. Oh, so cool. Okay, let me really quick bring us all in. There we go. Hello. That was awesome. There's so many things. Okay, I'm gonna dive right in because there were a lot of questions on, which I love this idea. It's so cool, is the video side on the proposal.
Mhm.
So what tools do you use, first of all? And can you walk us through what that looks like? Like, what can that look like for an advisor?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anyone can get a free Zoom account.
True.
If you're going to be giving longer proposals, you might have to get the paid Zoom account, but Zoom is probably the easiest way to start. It's really important that you prepare everything in advance. We work with Travefy closely. So one of the things we train our students is get your Travefy itinerary pulled up, and you can use that in the proposal 1, proposal 2, proposal 3 process. So you can use those tools together. Most of you guys are Travefy users, so I would incorporate that. If you're not yet a Travefy user, you could do it old school and kind of pull up, all the different things as well. But you want to have a plan. And if it takes practicing ahead of time, the first few times to do it, that's okay. We have our students role play in class. We have them work together on different scenarios to get comfortable, to make sure that they're really kind of getting past that nervousness of giving quotes online. And the other thing I think that people run into is they'll say, oh, but what if I don't have the answer to something? We don't all know everything. It's okay. Just say, that's a great question. I'm going to go ahead and find out for you, and I'll report back on that. I just want to make sure I'm giving you the most up-to-date information. So don't be afraid of that, guys.
Yeah, and I've also heard too Loom. I hear about that one a lot, where they'll advisors will pull up their Travefy and like have Loom and go through that. But I have a
Yeah.
really good question that just came in as you were mentioning that. So Claudia said, when I meet with my clients and present the Travefy itinerary to them over Zoom, many ask me to send it to them in an email so they can think it over. They even said, I feel like this is causing me to lose sales. How do you recommend giving them time to think about it without sending them the itinerary?
Yeah, I just send them a recap in email. I'll say, until we're booked, we don't put all the final information in there, but I'll send you a recap in email, and then it will literally just be kind of an overview. And then if you've recorded the call, you can also forward them a copy of the recording if you'd like as well. So that's another option, but don't forget to get that follow-up scheduled. That's the most important thing. If they need a think about it phase. And also, when they say the think about it thing, guys, your response should be great. Are there any other questions you have that I could give you the answer to that will help you as you think through your options? Or if they give you the dreaded, I got to check with my husband, what questions do you think your husband will have that I can answer for you now? Because really, it's the wife's questions. She's gonna, you know what, he might ask this, but it takes her off the hook, right? So think about that as well.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. It's so and that's good too. I like that. Just like a recap email keeps it going. One thing I was going to plug really quick, we're going to talk about this in the next webinar actually, with the scalable sales workflow and how you can like go through the timeline, but we just released like tasks and reminders where you can actually set those up too, so you don't automatically have to think about it. It'll be like, "Oh yeah, you need to send it one day, they haven't responded," so that's really cool. And there is a question here that was also piggybacking off that someone had asked, where does it get to the point where you should leave people alone? Which I think this is a really hard one. Like, what does that timeline look for you where you're like, you know what, I'm going to back off and then come back later?
Yeah, I follow up a minimum of 5 to 7 times, dependent on where they are, how complicated the trip was, how much time they need. But I do it in a very nice, professional, polite way. But guys, they asked you to do this work. So, you can leave a nice message that just says, I want to make sure I didn't forget about you. Prices aren't guaranteed and this quote can change daily. So I want to make sure if you have any other questions, let me know. If you need little more time to consider, perfectly fine. If you can just shoot me an email when you want to circle back, I missed you, I left a message today. So you can do it in a very nice way that they know that you're a professional. But yeah, you want to bug them because they asked you to do this work and you don't get paid unless you close the deal, right? So Yeah. And that's
It's
very typical, especially for new clients. You have to follow up more.
Yeah, it's so true. And they were interested. So it's like one of those again, like the mindset of like the confidence, knowing like, no, this isn't, it's not something I'm not bugging them. They wanted this and all that. So I think that's a really good point. And another question on this is a very hot topic is Andy had said great refresher from doing careers on vacation. So it's awesome.
Yeah, and you guys know if you're clients of ours, just go to Mod 7. And also in 2 weeks, we have a big update happening. So you guys are gonna get all new sales workflows, tools. Even if you graduated years ago, you'll get all those goodies.
That's awesome. Mod 7, that's hers.
Mod 7, yep.
But Andy mentioned, this is a really good question too, about how you mentioned about, pricing on a proposal. So why is verbally giving a price on a proposal recommended over including it written, was the question.
There's something in the psychology of seeing that big number. If I'm proposing those 3 that I was talking about, where I'm like, here's 2 that are right on budget. So I'll give them the number. I'll say this one came in at budget. This one was, 9,800. This one came in at 10,100. I know budget's 10. And then the third one, it would be 11,000, but it's that Butler suite. So you can verbally say it, but it's something about seeing that number that freaks people out. But when I'm going through the upsell or cross sell, I'll say it's only $1,000 difference. See, that feels better than saying it's $11,000, right? So if they were already planning on spending 10, what's one more if you're not even going on your honeymoon until another year? And you just told me you want to have the best honeymoon ever. So can you save an extra $100 a month? Not even that to have the honeymoon of your dreams. So it just feels a little bit, from a psychology perspective, a little bit easier, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, the psychology is the wild part about it.
Yeah.
Even like there's so much to it.
Buying is emotional. It's an emotional decision. It's not a logical. We're looking at it from, they told us this much, I better deliver this much. No, if you really do in consultative sales, they told you this is the one time they're going to do a honeymoon. They're telling you they've been engaged for 6 years and they're finally going to get there, and it's their dream to go to Maui. Listen to that as much as you listen to what the budget was. If you do those and you pull on those emotional heartstrings, you'll sell more often, and you're going to actually give them the vacation that they want, right? It might be a little more than they were expecting to pay, but that's really what they want if you're doing your job as a consultative salesperson.
I like that. Well, and I like just thinking about it as a consultative salesperson. That's a good way to just think about it too, which is really, really awesome there. So another question here from Lorraine is, what is the turnaround time for a quote to set up like the meeting, the consultation call?
Yeah, this will really depend on your experience level and your personal schedule. So if you're doing your travel business as a hobby, you might have another job you're balancing. We're big fans of having a calendar appointment system where you can give them all the different appointment times. So it's really based on what you can do. The faster is always better though. If you can be the first one that responds back to them, if you can be the first one that kind of at least has the appointment booked. Sales is about time, because when people want to buy, they want to buy right now, or when they're searching, they want to search right now. And we know we're fighting the smallest attention spans that we've had in the last 50 years. We're fighting the good battle. So if you can be fast and the most responsive, that's key.
That is so true. It is so true about the attention span is insane. And thank you, Bonnie, too. Shout out to you for getting, I know there's a lot of questions filtering in now. She's got them. She's sending them my way. But this is a really good one too. Just a little pivot from how, when you were talking about meeting your ideal client, like how important that is. And so Melissa had asked, how do you let someone know that they are not meeting your ideal client without offending them? And then also on that, what are some red flags you hold to when you are in that consultation phase?
So to answer the first question, it's as easy as, Cyndi, I don't think I'm a perfect fit for you. In the travel industry, we often niche and specialize in different areas, and what you're describing, what your vision and your dream is, I wouldn't feel good about taking that on, because I don't feel like I can. It's kind of like, it's not you, it's me, right? It's that exactly. Whole, just putting it in travel agent lingo. So it's, you're just kind of like letting them go, like, hey, I wish you the best, and refer them to one of the verification sites out there that they can find a travel agent. And I wish you well. If you're ever thinking about, Caribbean or the areas I do specialize in, I'd be open to that. And if you're not open to that, you don't have to say that part. And then the second part, what was the second part of the question?
Let me go back to it really quick. Here is looking for the red flags.
Well, if they won't pay if they're like, oh, well, I don't want to pay a fee, so and so will do it for free, and I'm like, well, you get what you pay for. I've been in this industry for 30 years. And if that feels okay for you, I totally respect that. Why our clients work with us is because they want our experience. They want to really make sure that they're going to have every detail covered. And the clients that work with us best really expect the highest caliber of service, which is what we do at our agency. And if you're fine, working elsewhere, no hard feelings. We wish you the best either way. So we'll just let them go. Like, you don't want to pay my fee, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that partner, because that's the ones that won't pay your fee are the ones that will waste your time again and again and again and never book. We don't have time for that. So we learned that through, COVID. So that's a red flag. And also, if they're so picky, there's a rule in customer service that says 2% of the population is basically crazy. Like, you are never going to make them happy. And look, my mom is not crazy, but she is one of those that doesn't matter like how good it is. It really has to be good to make her happy. I don't even book travel for my own mom. I make her pay the fee and work through someone at the agency. I'm like, Mom, here's the deal. But the thing about it is, 2%, just their standards are either so high or they're so picky or they're going to drive you crazy, putting you in the minutia. It's not worth your time to work with them. So either make your fee where it's so big they're not going to pay it, or just have that conversation where I don't think I'm the right person for you, and especially if they're expecting after hours, nights and weekends, things like that.
Yeah, it's such a good point, just to understand the value of yourself. And I love that too. It's like it is at the end of the day, it's like it's me, not you, type of thing. So it's okay.
Well, the other red flag, real quick, I just thought of it, is
no worries.
My last travel advisor was terrible. And sometimes that's the case. But if they lead with that, and you could say, well, tell me a little bit more about that. What happened? And if it's things that are, granted, they probably did have a travel advisor that didn't know what they were doing, because we all know that there's some out there like that. But if it's little things like, I called them at 9:00 at night and they didn't get back with me till the next morning, or, if it's little stuff that can happen in normal workflow or operations, then maybe don't take that client on.
That's so true. We did, I think this was last year. We have it on our academy site, but we did a kind of how to fire clients. And there were a lot like that where they were they were really upset by things that were kind of out of their control. And it's like, that's a good point. That's a very good red flag to look for there. And I have another question here. So a little bit on that, but a little different. Vicky had asked, what if they present you with an unrealistic budget for what they want? Like, how do you handle that?
Oh, I tell them straight out of the gate, especially if you guys have been pulling prices in your niches and you know what it's costing. Like, Hawaii is a good example. The prices have gone up so much since COVID. I will tell them, I would say, Cyndi, that budget pre-pandemic, probably we could have gotten you something on one of the islands, but the rates, the competition to get in the resorts, the new travel, revenge travel, all the things happening, has driven prices up in certain markets. Hawaii's the one that you're giving $10,000 isn't going to do it. It's more like 20 to 25,000 if you want 3 different islands, you want to stay oceanfront, we're going to be looking in that. So are you open to expanding your budget, or do we want to look at different destinations? What feels better to you? So I'll tell them just flat out, you have to be honest with them. Like, being honest with people is kind, right? Yep. So it's, got to just be clear and make sure that they know, so you're not wasting your time.
It's so true too. Like you said, the revenge travel of right now. I mean, it's really different, and everyone should understand that, but also like, just explaining like, listen, it was different a couple years ago, but it's different now. And so makes sense.
And we'll ask them about their flexibility. Can you change dates? Can we, take it down to 1 island or 2? You can work with them through that process, but for what you're describing, like, you can't buy a Mercedes Benz for a, Honda Accord budget. It's not going to happen.
It's very true. I love this question that came in too from Gina. So Gina had asked, for vacations that offer no risk cancellation options like Disney, how do you keep clients on board and prevent them from canceling between booking and the trip?
Oh yeah. So we have service funnels. So that's a great question, because I always say sales doesn't end at getting the credit card. And a lot of newer agents will go, great, I made the sale, I'm done, I sent them their paperwork, goodbye. No, you need to have a checkpoint leading up to. If Disney releases new packages, you need to be proactive and say, hey, I'm going to get online with Disney and see if I can apply this new package for you, get this new discount. You want to have that communication in between. You know, Steph talked about having those tasks, whether you're using your CRM or Travelify's new system, build those tasks and those customer service checkpoints in. One of the things that is available over on Wanderlust Social, our sister company, is a packing list, a pre-travel checklist, different things you can customize, stamp your brand on it. That's what we put in our service funnel. So right after they book, they get a packet. You know, about a month before they get their packing checklist, 2 weeks before they get a bon voyage email. So making sure that you're doing all those extra steps, it makes it less likely that people will run away or just cancel. And also charge a fee. Charge a fee.
The fees.
They're going to have to pay the fee again if they want you to pull it again, or at least you don't feel so bad about the cancellation.
It's so true. Yeah, the fee. Yeah, that's a huge one. And in fact, too, we did a webinar not long ago on that as well, and got to see different versions, types, and that was a big one where sometimes if they're just booking things like that, like Disney or just flights or a hotel, like they still have a fee. It might just be lower dollar amount depending on how much work they have to put into it, but makes sense. Yeah, I like that. So another question here. This is a really good one too, because I think we deal with this a lot more nowadays. Is Paul had asked, how do you handle a client who only wants to be contacted by, say, messenger text and just won't give you contact information?
Yeah, we don't work with them. Simple as that. So we'll say, oh, you know, in order to get established as a client with our agency, we require that the first meeting be on a video call so we can walk through what you can expect from us and what we expect from you. If that doesn't work, no hard feelings. We wish you the best. That's it. Because if they won't, and also in the world of, you know, there's a lot of scams going around, guys. You got to protect yourself and have those filters in, especially with establishing new clients. So we just don't work with them. We don't have time for it.
Love that. And okay, so I've got a final question here for you. And I really like this one too. There's so many good questions here. But Morgan asks, is some clients are uncomfortable talking about money. So how do you have any tips for getting them to talk about budget?
Yeah. I mean, we always say, we're like, let's say they want to go to Paris and they'll say, well, I don't know. And I'll say, well, I can build you a $100,000 trip to Paris, or I can build you a $12,000 trip to Paris. Depends. Are we talking private jets? Are we talking, you kind of have to guide them and say, I want to make sure that I don't overshoot and I don't undershoot. I want you to have the right vacation. We've talked about what you want to do in Paris, the type of hotels that you'd like, so this is going to be a expensive vacation based on what your needs are. So walk me through kind of what you're comfortable with. If I present you with something for $15,000, is that going to feel okay next week that we book that for you? So I'd throw a number out if you have to kind of start the conversation and say, but let me know, am I, kind of where you're at, because what your budget is, inventory changes daily, tours change on a regular basis. I'm going to get you the most value for whatever your dollars are, but I want to make sure that we have a budget that's really going to meet your needs.
I think it's really important to know too, because it is scary on both sides to put out the numbers, and so it is important though to put it in perspective and get it going there. And I totally lied because I have one more question for you. No so this is from Diane here. Is, since the Disney market is so flooded, how do you charge a fee and stay competitive? Which I know a lot of advisors run into this when they're trying to come up with fees and figure out what works for them.
Yeah. So the thing to remember, guys, is you're not competing against anyone else. You're only competing against yourself. So the way that you do that is, it's in the things we talked about today. Was your response time really quickly? Was it really quick? How did you do the consultation phase? In that consultation, that's when you're selling them on you and working with you. And I think it's okay to use that statement of, lots of people will do things for free, but the reason you work with our agency is because XYZ, and you lay that out for them. So you have to be confident when you deliver that too, and understanding that working with you is a step above. It's a level different. With our students, we teach them how to leverage their certification to say, well, I'm a certified travel advisor. Let me share with you what that means. So if you've earned a certification, make sure you're leveraging that and having that conversation. And also the certified agents will also usually have a protocol, and that will kind of be built into that lead up to the proposal, and different things that you can do to kind of prepare the clients for that conversation, if that makes sense.
That's such a good point too. Yeah. Throw out those certifications. Like, this is why this is what makes me special to work with.
Yeah.
So I think that's really it. Brag about yourself. I love that. It's great there.
You gotta do it.
Yeah. And so I wanted to point out here. So okay, so we had so many questions. I know there was a lot, but here's the next step here for this conversation to keep going, because I know I took notes even during this that I want to share with people. And because there's so much good stuff in here, Cyndi. This is awesome. But to keep the conversation going, if everyone wants to hop over to our Facebook group. So we have a Facebook group so it's like the Travefy official group. And I'll have Bonnie, if you could drop that in the chat, the link to join that. And it's on a schedule. So it's like 3 minutes that post will go live. But it'll be a post with Cyndi's beautiful face on it, the title session. And then in those comments, keep the conversation going and ask questions. And then you all can go in, because I know during this chat, you couldn't see each other's questions. So there were so many good things that I know a lot of you asked very similar ones. And then we're also going to drop in some links. So we'll be sure to drop in the links to the Cliff Notes that you shared, all of that good stuff in there. So keep that conversation going. It's a really amazing conversation and really good to just help set us up for this whole week. This was so perfect. But I do want to mention again is recordings are available. So if you, you had a colleague who had to hop off or wasn't able to join this first one, they'll be available on the website for where you register for these sessions. They'll be available on there pretty much right away. So you'll be able to check them out. And then of course, go on there and check out what's coming up next, which I think this is going to roll really well from this conversation into the next one, because the next conversation, we're going to be talking about building a scalable sales workflow and seeing a travel advisor's actual workflow. And we're going to talk about like those setting up those tasks, like, okay, after this happens, then this happens, and automating all that good stuff. So it's good pivot into that topic. So that's going to be exciting. But the last thing that I need to plug here is one of the most fun is Travel Trivia Happy Hour. So if you've joined us before on our past virtual events, we always do this. You will figure out Travefy really enjoys a Travel Trivia Happy Hour. And so it's going to be a great time. So join us there. It'll be on Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. And you'll just want to go ahead and register for that as well in our sales workshop page. But other than that, though, again, this was incredible, Cyndi. And thank you so much for taking your time. I know you have a busy schedule, so we really appreciate you taking time to share so much of your wisdom with us. This was awesome.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. And again, we will be putting that link that Cyndi shared. Go find her on social, and then we'll keep the convo going in the Facebook group. But otherwise, we'll see you again here soon. And thank you so much again, Cyndi, and enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Bye, guys.
See ya.